What's going on, everyone? Welcome into Inside the GIAA virtual edition here on GIAA.tv. It's your voices, Thrift, Barringer, and Big Rich, presented by the Beck Center. We want to say thank you to everyone that has been tuning in and watching this entire year, and we appreciate you. Follow us on Facebook, subscribe to YouTube, and also like and follow us on Instagram as well. GIAAsports.org is the name of the website. All right, Big Rich, let's go ahead and get into it. Got a jam-packed show in store for you this evening, and we are excited about it. We want to say congratulations to all those participants in track and field, state championships, golf, and tennis this past week. Great job by the GIAA, top-notch organization. Every single event from Kent Copeland, Clint Morgan, and everyone involved. They do such an amazing job, Richard. So go ahead and give a round of applause to all the athletes that were able to compete in those state championships. So on tonight's show, we're going to – final rankings of baseball came out. That means the brackets have also came out. We're going to recap those. We're going to give you a preview of the playoffs for each classification and see what's going to happen there. And then, Richard, you were able to talk to Ian Jones. That is the soccer coach for Stratford and is our soccer analyst as the soccer final rankings have came out and the playoffs have just started. And then after that, we got a few good minutes with the number one team at 4A FPD, Greg Moore, who's the athletic director and head baseball coach. So looking forward to talking about that. We also have George Walton and Strong Rock Lacrosse Championship. We'll try to give you an update on as well. And then, Richard, we got at the end, JP Weaver, who is the track and field meet director, and he did an amazing job at Strong Rock this past weekend. And then we'll end the show with what we got coming up here in the next couple of weeks. We are presented by the Beck Center of Academic and Athletic Success. Thank you to the Beck Center for their support of everything we do here on GIAA.tv. All right, Rich, let's go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back from break, you know what? I didn't even get to tell you, hey, how you doing? So what's up, Rich? How's everything going before we go to break?
I'm doing great. Man, we are in the playoffs for the GIAA for baseball and soccer. The brackets came out this week. I'm excited to talk bracketology with you, Thrift.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's I don't know if we say bracketology or we want to call it baseballtology, something like that, but we're going to be getting into it. Let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, let's talk about those rankings and more right here on the GIAA.tv. It's Inside the GIAA. We'll be right back after this.
This copyrighted broadcast, presented exclusively on GIAA.tv, is copyrighted by the Georgia Independent Athletic Association, a division of the Georgia Independent School Association, for the private use of our audience. It may not be retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without the express written consent of the Georgia Independent School Association.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to Inside the GIAA. Thrift, Barringer, Richard Holdridge here, and let's go ahead and get into it. Before we do that, though, I do want to say this past Sunday, Tony Morgan, Brett Taylor, myself, we were able to walk around Synovus Ballpark. That is going to be the home to the GIAA Baseball State Championships, and, man, we are super excited. May 29th through the 31st, it is going to be an incredible experience. Even if your team doesn't make it, come out, support the GIAA, and have an amazing time in an incredible field, incredible ballpark, and it should be a lot of fun May 29th through the 31st. Rankings, Big Rich, let's start it. All right, so we got Class 1A and Class 2A, our final rankings. And let's start with the 1A classification, Richard, and I'll let you go ahead first with those teams.
All right, well, Citizens Christian at number 1, Flint River, who made it to the championship last season. They were number 1 most of the season. Citizens Christian overtook Flint River, followed by Grace Christian, David Emmanuel, Westwood, the defending Class 1A champion, Robert Toombs, comes in at number 6, Vidalia Heritage. And then we got Atlanta Jewish at number 8, number 9, Thomas Jefferson, Covenant Academy at number 10, First Preparatory Christian at number 11, and Heritage Prep rounds out the 12 teams that are going to make the playoffs in Class 1A.
Yeah, and if you look, overall record, Citizens Christian won over 17 games, but them and Flint River right there neck and neck. Really surprised by that jump by Citizens Christian. They finish out the regular season really strong, Richard, because remember, we had Flint River's coach on when we first started back this season, the spring season. So congratulations on Citizens Christian finishing ranked number 1. I think a lot of that had to do with the fact they beat Pinewood, Brookwood, and the end of the season with a massive win over Deerfield Windsor, who is ranked pretty high in the 3A classification, Richard. They're actually a top 5 team there. So getting that win catapulted them over Flint River. But here's the thing, though. In the grand scheme of things, being 1 and 2 is not a big difference. Now, there's a bigger difference between 2 and 3 than there are 1 and 2. Why? Because the 2 and 3, the number 2 team gets to host all the way through the semifinals, quarterfinals, and of course in the championship. Number 1 and number 2, they're both going to be hosting no matter what. And then if they face each other in the state championship, it's at a neutral field, and they're going to have to. I mean, it's basically who gets to wear the home jerseys for those games, and that they get to be home. I guess 2 out of the 3 games, which it does make a difference, but not as much as being at home field. So, again, I think there's a bigger difference with 2 and 3. So congratulations to Citizens Christian, Flint River, Grace Christian, and David Emmanuel. They all get a bye. And then this week we got Westford taking on Heritage Prep. We got Robert Toombs taking on First Preparatory Christian Academy. We got Vidalia taking on Covenant, and Atlanta Jewish is taking on Thomas Jefferson. 2A classification. They've been number 1 pretty much all year long. That is Gatewood. Great season for the Gatewood team as they finish 18-9. Do the Gators out of Eatonton, Georgia, and then followed by Southwest Georgia Academy, who finished 21. By the way, they have a bye this week, just like Brookstone does in 4A, and they're playing each other. They want to use Thursday as a reason to, hey, we need some game experience. We don't want to go a whole week without playing, which I commend them on scheduling that. And by the way, as long as you haven't played 30 games, you can schedule a game during when playoffs are supposed to start. Southwest Georgia number 2, and then there's a big gap between Southwest Georgia and Edmund Burke, followed by Trinity Christian, and then in the top 5, Georgia Christian. So Trinity Christian, Edmund Burke, Southwest Georgia, and Gatewood all a bye. Then you got Georgia Christian, Heritage, Rock Springs, Brentwood, Westminster Christian Academy, Southland, Holy Spirit Prep, and Augusta Day. Right on the outside, and I'm talking about not even a full point, not even a 10th, 100th of a point behind Augusta Prep Day was Briarwood, Richard. So They were almost in there. So there is your top 12 for 2A, and congratulations to the top 4 that get the first round bye. Now let's go to 3A and 4A, Richard, and I'll let you start with 3A classification.
All right, Frederica is at number 1 for 3A, followed by Pinewood Christian. At number 3, we got Dominion Christian and John Millage at number 4. Number 5, Deerfield Windsor, followed by Piedmont at number 6. Number 7, Valwood out of Valdosta, followed by number 8, Westfield School. Remember, Westfield School, despite their record, play a bunch of 4A schools in their region. Tift area, always a solid 3A team. They're at number 9. Lakeview Academy at number 10. How about this? The defending champions, Terrell Academy out of Dawson, Georgia, is ranked number 11. And then at Brookwood down in Thomasville. So the first 4 teams are going to get a bye. And then we got remember, we saw this matchup in the basketball championship. Remember that, Thrift? Deerfield Windsor and Brookwood? Oh, they face off in the first round of the baseball playoffs. And then we got Piedmont taking on Terrell. And also you got Valwood taking on Lakeview Academy. And then the 8-9 matchup, Westfield is going to be hosting in the 3A, taking on Tift Area Academy.
So if you look at the 3A classification, Pinewood and Frederica, Pinewood, again, 1/100th of a point from being number 1 in their overall rating. And so they end up finished number 2. That was neck and neck. between them and Frederica. And by the way, Citizens Christian beat number 2 team in 3A and the number 5 team in 3A. That's why they jumped over Flint River. Those are 2 huge wins to end the season. They were rewarded for playing those tough games to end the year. Dominion Christian's a team that you don't want to sleep on. And obviously John Millage finished out the season strong as well. So congratulations to all those teams that were able to make it. Near the bottom, Brookwood they had a sizable lead on Westminster Schools of Augusta. So not really anything to talk about there like we did in the last classification. But John Millage, Dominion Christian, Pinewood, and Frederica, all congratulations for getting first-round buys. And we look forward to seeing that 3A classification play out starting this week. In 4A, the number 1 team all year long has been First Presbyterian Day. They finished their regular season 27-3. Coach Greg Moore has done a sensational job since taking over the baseball program back in 2021. And last year came up just short against Brookstone. This year, they come in as one of the favorites to win it all. Number 2 is Brookstone, the defending champion. They finished 21-5. They do have a game against Southwest Georgia that will count against their record but won't count against their seeding. So they finished 21-5 on the year, and they have that game on Thursday at 4:30. The number 3 team is Tatnall Square. I honestly think if Tatnall Square's in any other classification, Richard, and I'm looking at all the other classifications, they would have been the number 1 team. That's how loaded this 4A classification is. Followed by Bethlehem Christian, Athens Christian, and Calvary Christian. All 3 of those teams were a 1/10 of a point away from all swapping. So great job by all those teams. Bethlehem Christian, Tatnall, Brookstone, FPD, all getting first-round buys. Athens Christian, number 5. At number 6 is Calvary Christian. Number 7, and Bullock Academy out of Statesboro. Number 8, Tallulah Falls. Number 9, Stratford Academy. 10, St. Anne Pacelli, who just, by the way, beat a team in Alabama, who's probably going to win the state championship there. Number 11, Strong Rock Christian. And number 12, George Walton. So here is your top 12. And we got Athens Christian, George Walton. We got Calvary taking on Strong Rock. That's region foe. St. Anne going against Bullock, and Tallulah Falls going against Stratford. Cannot wait to see how all those games are going to play out, Richard. And let's go ahead and throw out the brackets real quick and kind of show you. And you can, again, find all this information on the GIAA Instagram and GIAAsports.org. Here's the 1A classification. When looking at this, I like that Citizens Christian Flint River matchup, Richard. If you ask me who are 2 of my favorites heading into the playoffs, I'm going chalk here. But do not, if you give me a sleeper pick when looking at the 1A classification, I'll let you go first. Who's your sleeper pick for 1A, Richard?
I think that it's going to be Flint River. They came so close last year, losing in the state championship to Robert Toombs. I think that this Flint River Wildcats team out of Woodbury, Georgia, which they kind of feel, being an hour outside of Columbus, they're going to bring a lot of fans to Synovus Park. If they're playing in that state championship, I think they're going to have a little bit of a home field advantage. And I think that this is Flint River's year. I think Flint River wins the single A state championship.
My sleeper pick, I think, leaning towards David Emanuel. They won 15 games this year. I really like David Emanuel as one of my sleeper picks, but I'm still going to go chalk Flint River and Citizens Christian. All right, let's move on, Richard, go into 2A classification. Gatewood, I can't see any other team other than them as a for sure favorite to make it. But looking again at this classification, Richard, I'm telling you, Trinity Christian, I like them a lot. I like Southwest Georgia and getting that experience against Brookstone. I'm going to be honest, guys. If you're here for some hot takes, I'm leaning towards chalk, but I can easily see some upsets. I think Rock Springs is really good. They played a tough schedule. Brentwood, Georgia Christian is really good as well. But Gatewood's played the toughest schedule. They got the highest rating, and they got the second most wins. I'm going Gatewood right now in Southwest. Wouldn't be surprised if Edmund Burke or Trinity Christian also were able to make it in that state championship game. What about you in 2A?
I've got Southwest Georgia Academy. They only have 1 loss all season. They're about to get a tune-up game against Brookstone, one of the top teams in 4A. I think that Southwest Georgia Academy, they're trying to avenge that gruesome 3-game series that they suffered in the semifinals last year against Gatewood, who eventually won the 2A state championship.
Yep.
I think that Southwest Georgia Academy is going to be there. I think the championship's going to be Gatewood and Southwest Georgia at Synovus Park. And Southwest Georgia Academy out of Damascus comes out on top. And I believe that would be a baseball championship and a football championship, if I'm corrected, right?
Yeah. All right. Now let's move on. And let's check on the 3A classification. All right. Number one is Frederica. But Pinewood was right on them, and we know Pinewood is a perennial powerhouse in GIAA no matter what classification they're coming in. I like Pinewood in this, and I'm going to be honest. I think John Millage is another team. Frederica's number one, but there is not a big gap between them and the number 4 team. They would play in the semifinals. I can see a John Millage Pinewood state championship, which we saw just a few years ago. What about you? Who would be your pick, and who would be your sleeper? Because mine is Valwood at the number 7 seed.
Yeah, and Valwood lost to Terrell Academy in the championship last year.
Yeah.
Remember, Heritage has gone down to 2A.
Yep.
If Heritage was still in 3A, they might be a top team in 3A. John Millage went to the semifinals last year. I do like that pick, but I think that Pinewood Christian, they were the number 1 overall seed last year, and they got upset by Valwood. I think that Pinewood Christian, Pinewood was they're what, the number 2 seed?
Yep.
I like Pinewood Christian. I think Pinewood Christian gets it done, and out of Belleville, Georgia, winning the 3A state championship. I'm going to say that the 3A state championship is going to be John Millage and Pinewood. I think that would be a good one. I think John Millage upsets Frederica in the semifinals. But man, these state championships, they are going to be some epic series.
I can't wait.
And remember, I almost guarantee you, you're the voice of Synovus, like you're the voice of the GIAA for Synovus Park. You're probably going to be working Saturday. I think these games are to go to a best of 3.
And by the way, playoffs start this weekend. Second round next weekend. Third round May 23rd and 24th. Semifinals, and then state championship again May 29th to the 31st at Synovus Park. Now let's look at finally the 4A classification, and this one is by far the toughest. I would put this classification up against anyone in the GHSA. All these teams are excellent, and I can see upsets through the roof. Obviously, FPD and Brookstone come in the favorite. They played again last year. Would not be surprised if Tatnall Square made it. Bethlehem Christian, also a really good team. Strong Rock is 11 seed, but now they're starting to get healthy, and they got a guy that coached at Tennessee and East Carolina in his career. He's a legendary coach. I could see their team moving on. I also can see Calvary, who's a 6 straight state championships out of the gaps. They could get hot as a team, and they won every game in their region. Pacelli could upset Bullock, and Bullock could also get on a deep run. Tallulah Falls out of coming out of the GHSA last year comes in at 20-9 on the season. And if you look, only 7 teams had 20 wins in the 4A classification.
Unbelievable.
That's unbelievable, man.
Yeah,
it really is. Shows you how talented these teams are. So I can't wait until the playoffs start. I'm going to go FPD Brookstone, but again, I wouldn't be surprised if someone like Tallulah Falls pulls off an upset, to Tatnall Square, Calvary, Bullock. All these teams are really good, Richard.
I am actually going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to make a bold prediction. I think Athens Christian has had a phenomenal year in the GIAA. I think it's going to be Athens Christian Brookstone. I think Athens gets the upset over FPD. By the way, there could be a possible upset in the second round. I think Calvary is going to upset Tatnall Square. So Calvary is going to end up beating Strong Rock. The number 6 seed Calvary Christian is going to upset the number 3 seed Tatnall Square, and we'll have a Calvary Brookstone semifinal. I think it's going to be Athens Christian and FPD in the semifinals. And the thing is, I mean, we live in Columbus. I mean, there are 3 Columbus teams in this 4A bracket. That's why this is so much fun for us And there's a lot of motivation for all three of these teams out of Columbus to play in the championship because it would be a huge home field advantage because it's played at Synovus Park right there in Columbus, Georgia. Right here behind me, the Riverwalk, which has really been the staple of Columbus, Georgia. Obviously, this is a virtual background, but yeah, this is the staple of Columbus. And I know that Synovus Park is just a gorgeous ballpark, and whoever gets there the championship, it's going to be an experience they'll never forget.
I completely agree with that, Richard. Well, there's our baseball update and our baseball rankings. Good luck to all the teams. The playoffs start this week. Soccer also starts. And guess what? Richard's going to be talking with Coach Ian Jones about those soccer playoffs and their final rankings as well. It's Inside the GIAA. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this. We're presented by the Beck Center.
GIAA.TV now brings you more live coverage of more sports than ever before. Announcing GIAA.TV Lite with live coverage of swim, wrestling, cheer, and more. GIAA.TV Lite is the next best thing to being there. From one screen, you will hear the crowd, see the action, the scores, the stats, and more. With no play-by-play or instant replays, GIAA.TV Lite is half the price of our regular broadcast. Announcing GIAA.TV Plus. With all of your fan favorites, GIAA.TV Plus now adds volleyball, softball, all-star football, and more. Featuring all the play-by-play, instant replays, multiple angles, and more, all for less than the cost of 2 adult tickets to the event. Don't miss 1 second of the action all year long, only on GIAA.TV.
Welcome back to Inside the GIAA. It is now time for the segment with our soccer correspondent. He is the head boys soccer coach from Stratford Academy. Please welcome Ian Jones.
Good morning, Richard.
All right, Coach, the brackets are out. Well, first of all, I want to get this out here because we've had you on for 3 times already. This is the 3rd time you've been on Inside the GIAA. You're from England. I have to ask you, who's your favorite Premier League team?
I get asked this all the time, and I'm going to be completely honest. Back home, you follow your local, and that local team, that would have been Stoke FC. But, I got 2 older brothers. One's a big Wolverhampton Wolves fan, and another one's, unfortunately, a big old Manchester United fan. But, I just love the sport, and if it's on, I'm going to try and watch it as much as my wife hates it.
Absolutely. I think that is fascinating. Let's talk about your team. The brackets are out. Actually, a very favorable seeding for both you and the girls' team. Really, what are the expectations going into the GIAA playoffs, starting with 4A?
I still think that, a lot of teams, as I'm talking to other coaches around the league, we're all in the same boat of trying to, keep our kids focused, going into the latter part of the school year. Some of us have, if you're a number 1 through 4 seed, at least in 4A, we have basically a 2-week bye, which is not necessarily the greatest, but you got to get creative as a coach in regards to how to keep your kids focused. Westminster out of Augusta and Stratford on the boys' side have arranged a scrimmage to try and keep our guys keeping the juice flowing. And I know Coach Kate on the girls' side is working something out with another local team with Central Fellowship. So, but again, it's this time of year. I'm a firm believer if the coach that keeps their kids focused the most and can keep them to buy into the process that we've all been trying to follow all year long, that's the team that's going to be the most successful.
No question. And Stratford Academy are both number 2 seeds in the 4A bracket. Tallulah Falls is the overall number 1 seed in 4A boys, and Pacelli is the number 1 overall seed in 4A girls. Let's go down to the 3A boys. The overall number 1 seed is Westminster of Augusta. 3A boys does it a little bit differently. You got 8 teams. There are no buys. Same with the 3A girls. Frederica is the number 1 seed out of 3A girls. Who do you see coming out of the brackets? We'll start with the boys, and then we'll follow with the girls.
Right off the bat, I think on Westminster Schools of Augusta is going to be the clear favorite. I just don't think there's a team in that division that can probably compete with them unless Westminster just have a really down game. But again, you got some teams in us. I still think John Mills at number 7. I mean, for argument's sake, if they're having a good game, I mean, they could cause some trouble for some teams. But again, I think when you got Brookwood and St. Andrews and Frederica, at number 2, 3, and 4 respectively, I mean, you can't doubt them. But again, I still think any team playing Westminster out of Augusta, regardless of classification, he's going to have a tight game. He's going to have a tough game. Excuse me. Tallulah Falls were down 2-0 against Westminster on Friday night, and end up coming back and beating Westminster 3-2. So I think at the end of the day, that's only going to make Westminster that much more hungry, and because they basically want to play the best and the best of the best, and that's going to leave a sour taste in the mouth finishing the season off with a loss against Tallulah Falls.
All right. So when you look at the 3A bracket, obviously Frederica is the number 1 overall seed for the 3A girls. You got any sleepers? I know you talked about some of the St. Andrews is the number 2 seed. You also got Deerfield Windsor out of Albany, a number 3 seed. Who do you like coming out of the 3A girls bracket?
I've known Allie Johnson for a long time, so I'm sure Deerfield are going to be very, very well prepared. He's a great coach. He's a fellow expat from England. So, but I think he'll have him prepared. I think St. Andrews obviously has had a good season as well. But sleeper wise, is still, if John Mills are healthy, I think John Mills can certainly might be able to upset a team here or there. But again, it's just going to come down to who's going to be the most prepared mentally as we enter the latter part of the season.
All right, let's start with. We'll finish with the 2A brackets. We'll start with the 2A boys. The overall number 1 seed is Holy Spirit Prep. They were the runners up last year. They want to try to get that championship, followed by Heritage, which is the number 2 seed. And you talk about a Heritage team going down a classification. The 2A bracket, you got the top 4 teams are going to receive byes, so they are not going to play in the first round on May the 10th this weekend. But let's start with the 2A boys. Who do you like out of this? Obviously, Central Fellowship is strong. You got St. George, obviously Westminster Christian. Who do you like coming out of the 2A boys bracket?
I think both Holy Spirit and Heritage end up dropping down from 3A from last year, and Holy Spirit obviously were the runners up to Westminster out of Augusta. So I think Heritage had last year they had a very strong season. They were in a tough region with Pacelli and Brookstone, and they were competitive in those games for sure. I still think that top 4 is going to be it's pretty solid, but I still think you got to look out for Sherwood Christian. When you look at their record and who and their schedule, I think for argument's sake they could make a valid argument to be a top 4 team. But I'm going to put my money on Holy Spirit. Sam Walker over at Holy Spirit Prep has done a fabulous job with that program. He's going to be dealing with some issues with fielding plays, but again, I think he's got enough talent on that team where I think they're going to cause some trouble. And they beat Fulton Science this past week 6-2, so that says something about them beating a 4A school.
And finally, we're going to look at the 2A girls bracket. As the overall number 1 seed is the defending champion, Central Fellowship, followed by Westminster Christian at the 2 seed. Georgia Christian out of Valdosta is the 3 seed. And Trinity Christian out of Dublin is the 4 seed. So the first 4 teams get byes. Who do you like coming out of the 2A girls bracket?
Well, I would anticipate Westminster Christian and Central Fellowship reaching the finals again. But again, you don't want to write off Georgia Christian and Trinity Christian. Central Fellowship, again, they've got some the coaching staff with Teddy Tanner and Darvin Ebanks. That as the season has progressed, they've made some tactical adjustments. I've watched them twice, and it was interesting to see how they adjusted. not just from the start of the game to the end of the game, but how they were made those halftime adjustments, made them that much more competitive in the second half. So, but again, I still think Sherwood Christian could be another team that, for argument's sake, could be a 4 seed. But again, going to go back to it, man. The coaches that keep them focused. It's going to come down to it. If they can't keep them focused, if the kids can't stay on task, I think, there could be a cause for upsets. I'm not going to lie. I had a dream last night that we got beat in the quarterfinals. And, I'll be letting my boys know that tonight at practice.
All right. The state championships are going to be held May the 27th through the 28th at your school, Stratford Academy. It's going to be done a little bit differently this year. We're going to have 3 soccer matches starting at 2:30. And what do you like about the new format? I mean, we're going to have a 4A champion crowned on Tuesday and a 4A championship crowned on Wednesday. How you liking the new format? Because I know last year you had the 4A championship on a Friday, and then it was just all-day soccer on Saturday.
Well, I'll tell you what, on a personal level, Saturday morning it was very easy to get up and watch four games of soccer. When we won, when the boys won it the night before. But certainly, I think having 3 games on a Tuesday and 3 games on a Wednesday is certainly going to be much more. It's going to be just better. I think if we're able to keep the three girls teams on, or the girls on Tuesday and the boys on Wednesday, depending obviously if a school has both teams in it, I think it's going to be a very entertaining game of soccer. There's going to be some good soccer that's going to be played as well by the time we get there. And obviously to cap it off, with some really good games in the finals. I think it's a great way to accumulate the whole season in regards to what the teams have done, throughout the season, and regardless of where they finish in the rankings. I think everyone should be proud of what they've, how much they've improved, and certainly, one thing I would suggest to all the coaches as we continue to work together is to continue to lean on each other to try and help each other out and be the best coaches we can be, and look at the big picture, not the small picture. And that day, I think you'll see a lot of coaches who will be shaking hands, hugging one another, cheering each other on, regardless of classification. And that's a good spirit to have. And that's something that, I know some of us coaches are really proud to be a part of that same kind of core.
Well, good luck in the tournament, and we look forward to having you on next week on Inside the GIAA. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all's time.
That is our soccer correspondent and head boys soccer coach of Stratford Academy, Ian Jones. We're going to step aside and take a break, and we'll have more Inside the GIAA right here on Inside the GIAA on GIAA.tv.
This copyrighted broadcast, presented exclusively on GIAA.tv, is copyrighted by the Georgia Independent Athletic Association, a division of the Georgia Independent School Association, for the private use of our audience. It may not be retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without the express written consent of the Georgia Independent School Association.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back here. As I mentioned in the opening, we have a few good minutes, and it's one of my favorite times. As you just saw, we just went through all the final baseball rankings. We went through the brackets, and we get to talk to now the head coach of the number 1 team in 4A. They were the number 1 team all last year and lost in the state championship. They've been the number 1 team all this year. They are 27-3. They're on an 18-game winning streak. And I promise you, we got a legend that's coming on the broadcast right now. He's been coaching for a long time. His name is Greg Moore. He is the athletic director and head baseball coach of FPD. Coach, thank you so much for joining Inside the GIAA.
Well, thank you for having me. It's great to be here. We've got an off day today, and so I'm looking forward to spending some time with you.
Thank you, Coach, and I appreciate you making some time. I'm glad you got the off day because I know how baseball is a repetition sport. It's hard having off days and stuff, and we're going to get to that and how you feel about having an off week this week compared to playing a game and what some of the other teams are doing. But first things first, Coach, if you don't mind, what we like doing here, we like promoting all our coaches, and we like getting the background history. So can you give us the background history? How long you've been coaching? How long you've been in the game? Heck, you can go back to your playing days, where you played high school, college ball, and what led you ultimately where you're at right now at FPD.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm very fortunate, very blessed. And if we were going to talk about my playing days, we could be done in about 5 seconds. I did have one good year, my senior year of high school, when I got the chance to play for Jimmy Turner, who ended up being the head baseball coach at FPD for a long time. And
Awesome.
then I graduated and went to the University of Alabama and worked in the football program there for 5 years. And when I came back home to FPD, I was Coach Turner's assistant coach on the baseball team for 12 years, I believe it was. And then actually became the head football coach during that period of time. I was the football coach for 23 years, and we had a great run. It was a lot of fun. And then I came back into baseball on very back end of COVID. So in 2021, I took over as the head baseball coach, and I was finishing up my run as the football coach then. And man, it's been great, and I love it. I loved playing baseball when I was in high school, and even the years where I was coaching football, which were fantastic years, and I wouldn't trade them for anything. Boy, I miss baseball, and so when I got a chance to get back in it, I took it, and I'm glad I did.
And like you made mention, everything that you have touched, Coach, you have done a good job at winning, turning programs into consistent winners, which sustaining success, that's the hardest part of this job. Everybody can have a good year every now and then. Doing it year in and year out, that's an impressive feat. And by the way, you made a heck of a hire in Brett Collier because he's had a pretty good job with the football program since he took it over for you and actually won a state championship just 2 years ago and again, done a great job there and been a number one team the back-to-back seasons. But, Coach, being able to adapt and being able to coach multiple sports and being at a small school like FPD where you got to share athletes. I looked at your roster. You got multiple guys that played football. Where did that come from? Where did that passion come from to want to coach, to want to be able to deal with athletes 20 years ago, 10 years ago? And you see how the times change. You see how athletes are different than they used to be. Who do you give that credit to help turn you into the coach you are today?
Well, I know when I was in middle school and high school, if it hadn't been for my coaches, I would have been in probably a bad place. I mean, they swayed and influenced everything in my life on and off the field. And I never forgot it. And then when I went to the University of Alabama and I got a little taste of what that looked like, I realized, you can make a living doing this. And I didn't know I'd make a living at FPD. I thought I'd do it for a year or so and then try to get back into the college world. But it just has worked out, and it's a special place. I love the mission here. I love the people here. And, the way we do things here is a little unique. It's a little different. But one thing that's not different is the chance to work with kids and try to make a difference in their lives. And it doesn't matter if you're doing that at high school or college. That takes a pretty serious investment. And I've tried to do that and invest in the kids that I get a chance to coach. And I hope somewhere along the way that we've made some impact. And that's kind of how we do it. And we want to, listen, less than 1% of the kids that leave FPD or any high school for that matter are going to go play anywhere. So we try really hard to make it a special thing while we got them here, because this is it. When they graduate, it's probably over.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Coach. By the way, Coach Moore won a state championship in football, trying to get one in baseball. Came just short last year. And let's talk about now. I know you said you missed baseball, but taking over the program in 2021 and now having it where it is these last couple of years. Talk about that coaching staff and anyone else that's been involved with the program since you've taken it over that you want to help credit the success you've had these last years.
Well, listen, I'll be the first to tell you, my job is to get the train on the tracks and get it moving in the right direction. The players have to lead the team in the locker room, and that comes from being influenced by godly men who are good coaches that understand the fundamentals of the game and try to invest in them and get things done the right way on and off the field. So, my staff, Seth Graham was the head coach at Eagles Landing Christian one time. That's invaluable to me. Greg Thomas, hard worker, young guy, will do anything in the world for our kids. And then we've got a guy like Wayne Hotchkiss, who's been around here almost 20 years as a community coach. They've all been there and seen it and done it. But we added this year 3 young guys, Brett McHugh, Ford Van Meter, and Micah Henley. They're all in their early 20s, and it's a whole game changer for us in terms of relationships and things going on with the kids that they trust. And man, it's been great. And so I've changed the way I think. I used to think the head coach ought to do everything.
Right.
And I've learned as I've gotten a little bit older that the head coach probably ought not do very many things, to be honest with you. The assistant coaches ought to do it, and the players ought to lead it in the locker room, and that's kind of how we do it here.
Greg Moore is head coach of FPD, the number one ranked team in 4A, 27-3. Again, as I made mention earlier, on an 18-game winning streak. Coach, this schedule, really tough. And I kind of want to tie it into the question about how overall the GIAA, many people don't understand because they hear private school. They're like, well, who do y'all play when you win state championships? In my opinion, the GIAA baseball, I put up with any classification, the GHSA. Baseball-wise, from top to bottom, I mean, I looked at it from Tatnall to y'all to Bethlehem Christian to Calvary to Brookstone. Heck, even Strong Rock, that's got a guy that coached at Tennessee for a couple of years at East Carolina, is really talented. Talk about this gauntlet of a schedule that you had to go through and finishing 27-3. Credit your guys, and what are y'all doing to prepare for what should be a tough playoff stretch too?
Well, listen, you hit the nail on the head. This thing's hard. Our league is not huge, but that does not in any way that's not the measurement of how hard the league is. And we could have 60 teams in our classification. It wouldn't matter. The 12 to 15 that we deal with a lot are really, really good. We were in the GHSA as recently as 5 years ago, I think.
Wow.
Listen, it was hard. I mean, it was very hard, but it was Class A private that was really hard. That's what we were having to deal with. Nothing's changed. And so when we deal with the Tatnall and Bethlehem and Brookstone and all these guys that you named, Tallulah, all these guys, they are good, man, and they are very well coached. They've all got kids that can play or are going to play again.
Right.
So what we've tried to do is just take it one game at a time. And listen, that I know that sounds cliche, but I can't ask these guys to bite off 30 games at a time. So we go one at a time, and we make every game a big deal. Team meetings before every game, pregame doesn't change. Everything's a big deal for that game because I've got kids in my locker room that are going to fill roles different on every game. And today may be the day that Greg Moore, who's a reserve, gets 2 hits that make a difference in the ball game. And that may not happen 2 weeks from now when we play another school. So every single game is a big deal, and we don't try to get too caught up in who's next and all that. And right now we're just enjoying the fact we get a day off because we've had a successful year. We celebrated Friday, a region championship, and today we took a day off because we've had a good time.
No doubt, Coach. And you got to play all as I talked about earlier, the top 4 seeds get a bye. So, of course, you get a bye this week. You get to see how everything plays out before you know who that quarterfinal matchup's going to be. But let's talk about the team. You got a great amount of players. You shout out whoever you want, Coach. I'm not going to put you on the spot because there's too many guys you could list off. But I do got to bring up Keon Johnson. Obviously, got a lot of notoriety last year as a sophomore. The junior this year is ranked nationally. He is just a phenomenal stud athlete that's probably going to get drafted. Already a Vanderbilt commit, which is one of the top teams in the SEC. Talk about him and having a guy like Keon, who's your best player, but works as hard as anyone else does.
Yeah, well, he's the hardest worker on the team, too. And he's also a very good student. He's also a very good teammate. And this is crazy, but I don't ever have to worry about Keon.
Right.
This is a high school kid he's got it. He's got it all together, and he understands, and he has an unbelievable perspective on the blessings that have come his way. And, boy, nobody on our team, you would think, well, that's Keon. He's cool. He might get drafted. He's going to Vanderbilt. Nobody on the team is as excited on game day as Keon. Can't beat him on game day in terms of being ready and bringing energy. So it's really easy for his teammates to say, okay, that's just Keon. This is how he does things, and they like it. And it's been very good for us. We've had a lot of guys do incredible things. We've got a pitcher on our team that's a Mercer commit.
Yep. Who
has worked his tail off and been awesome in Connor Strandmark. We've been pitching Connor since he was a freshman, and now he's a junior.
Wow.
Wyatt Waters has been fantastic on the mound. Grant Martin's been fantastic on the mound. Brady McHugh is probably the heart and soul of what we got going on as a team on the middle infield. And I could just keep going. I mean, Tinsley Lewis is our catcher. He's caught every inning of every game we've played this year. And these guys are all very close knit, very tight. We go to church together on Sundays.
Awesome. We
eat dinner together on Sundays after church. 2 of them got baptized in the last few months. We all went to church to watch the baptism. It's a very special thing, and it speaks a lot to the fact that the kids want to be on a team and have a good time and have all their stats, but they also want to be a part of something that's pretty special. And that's probably been the blessing of all blessings with this season.
Yeah, no doubt, Coach. And it's been impressive to see what you've done with this program. And I had the pleasure of calling the games last year that went down on the wire against Brookstone. And this year you could be right back at Synovus Ballpark, brand new, state-of-the-art ballpark. Going to be fabulous, hosting all the GIAA baseball state championships. Coach, a few more questions. So when I was talking with a couple of coaches around and was talking with Brookstone coach Greg Mathis, he scheduled a game this week. He's taking on Southwest Georgia, who's ranked number 2 in 2A, because he didn't like not playing a game for a whole week. What's your mindset? What are you doing with the team to try to keep them prepared as you wait to see who your potential matchup's going to be next week as you got a bye in the first round?
Well, we're glad to have the bye, but this is the hard part. No baseball team, Major League Baseball doesn't like the long break in the playoffs. So we've already begun to discuss how we want to do this. We did have a game yesterday. It was our 30th game, so we're maxed out. I can't schedule something else now. We gave the kids off today. I don't want to wear them out. And tomorrow we practice. Thursday we've got a very talented team, so I can put an inner squad together and make it pretty doggone competitive if I want to.
Awesome.
That's what's going to happen. We're doing it Thursday night. We're bringing them back after school. We'll do a devotional. Everybody will go to dinner. It's just like we would for a game, but it's an inner squad. We'll practice again on Friday, and then Monday and Tuesday of next week, we're probably going to inner squad again. May even have a guest pitcher or 2 come in and throw just so we see something different.
Right.
But we will stay sharp. This is our last day off. We won't take a bunch of days off. And, we're at the time of year now where you need a bat in your hands, you need a glove on your hand, and you need to hold the ball a little bit. So that's not going to go away here in the break. That's for sure.
Coach Greg Moore, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck on the playoff run. And I owe you a cheeseburger when you get to Synovus Park here in a few weeks. Okay, man?
I'll take it. That sounds great.
He is the head coach of FPD, the athletic director, a daggum good dude, and he has done an amazing job with the Vikings. They are ranked number 1 in 4A and one of the favorites at 27-3 to win it all. And he's got a bye this week, and we'll see who that first-round matchup could be coming up next week. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we got more right here on Inside the GIAA on GIAA.tv.
GIAA.tv now brings you more live coverage of more sports than ever before. Announcing GIAA.tv Lite with live coverage of swim, wrestling, cheer, and more. GIAA.tv Lite is the next best thing to being there. From one screen, you will hear the crowd, see the action, the scores, the stats, and more. With no play-by-play or instant replays, GIAA.tv Lite is half the price of our regular broadcast. Announcing GIAA.tv Plus. With all of your fan favorites, GIAA.tv Plus now adds volleyball, softball, all-star football, and more. Featuring all the play-by-play, instant replays, multiple angles, and more, all for less than the cost of 2 adult tickets to the event. Don't miss 1 second of the action all year long, only on GIAA.tv.
Welcome back, everyone, to Inside the GIAA. That was an excellent interview we had and a few good minutes with the number one team head coach in 4A, First Presbyterian Day, Greg Moore. Enjoyed that. And now we're going to talk updating with track and field. They had their state championships last week, as we've mentioned, May 1st to the 3rd at Strong Rock Christian Academy in Locust Grove, Georgia. And now joining us here on Inside the GIAA is the GIAA track and field meet director. And his name is JP Weaver. Coach, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Coach, let's go ahead and get into it. Give us your background history. What got you involved in track and field, and why is this something that's a passion of yours, and why did you end up becoming the meet director for the GIAA?
So I started coaching track and field back in 2008-07. I played college football, but also was a track and field athlete, mostly track. And I started running in middle school. I ran the 1600, 800. And had a pretty good career there. And like I said, played football growing up all the way through college at Gardner-Webb University. When I graduated college, I started coaching and got into education shortly after, but track and field was a big passion. I was able to start a program, a youth program, and then I started the Trinity Christian School in Sharpsburg, not Dublin, but Sharpsburg. I started the track and field program there in 2013, and we were members of the GISA at the time. And just had a really good experience all through 2018-19. We entered the GHSA, and then I took the director of athletics job at Westminster Christian Academy this past June. We don't have a track and field program, but because of my background, graciously, Clint Morgan reached out to my head of school and asked if I would be interested, and I graciously accepted. So I got involved from a distance. I'm also a part of the GATF XCCA Coaches Association, where I am the clinic director. So got a background. So uniquely, it was really neat that I got to be a part of it as the meet director, not having a team, but it was a really neat opportunity for that reason.
Coach, let's talk about track and field, man, because I'm always interested. Y'all have more athletes than it seems like any other coach does and has to deal with. You got so many different events and so many different athletes doing so many different things. What's it like? Kind of paint the picture, if you will, to our GIAA audience on how hard it is to be a track and field coach and how many responsibilities you have to be in charge of that.
It's very tough because you have in the GIAA, you have 17 events. And so you are talking from sprints to mid sprints all the way to distance. Then you have your throws and you also have your jumps. So if you can have a coaching staff that's, full of experience from all different angles, which includes the pole vault to the high jump, all the way down to the 100 sprints, it's good. And, it's a very unique option because, again, like you said, you have a lot of different angles you come from on top of the fact that you're dealing with, multi-sport athletes. So it's a tough sport to coach, and you want your kids to peak obviously at the right time. And that's, in April and May when it's postseason time. So it's tough, but it's a challenge, but it's a great challenge. And I always enjoyed it because of that reason.
We're talking with JP Weaver. He's the GIAA track and field meet director. He's also the director of athletics at Westminster Christian Academy. Correct, Coach? Did I just say that right? Because I know there's Westminster Schools of Augusta as well. Quite a few Westminster I have learned over the years, man.
Yes, Watkinsville. That's where we're at.
Well, Coach, let's talk about Locust Grove and Strong Rock. I just want to start with the venue first. How awesome was the venue? And then we'll talk about weather and the results and how it overall went and everything else, all the people that were involved that you want to shout out. But first, talk about the school and the location at Strong Rock that I heard incredible campus and just a great facility to host these track and field events.
Hands down, 138 acres. The campus is humongous. It is a great track and field venue. We're definitely I would recommend it to anybody who's hosting a state event. I have experience with the facility because we used to go there at times several years back when I was at Trinity Christian School, and it's just an awesome venue, and it is definitely set up the right way when it comes to when you want to host an event. And then, weather-wise, we were very fortunate. We went in obviously knowing we were going to deal with some weather potentially. Luckily, we did not deal with it much except at the very end of the 4x4 championship or the final round. And we did move our schedule up on Saturday so there's 3 days, which is also challenging because in track and field, you usually go to one-day events, even regions one day. And then you all of a sudden, boom, you're a postseason at the end of the year. You're at a 3-day event with prelims, field events, and then you're going to the finals round. So very blessed, very fortunate, and thankful for the opportunity to also host it on their campus.
Inside the GIAA, presented by the Beck Center on right now, GIAA.TV. JP Weaver, we're talking track and field now. Kent Copeland and Clint Morgan, they're all over the place, man. They had tennis championships, golf state championships, and track and field. It seems like all in 1 week. So they got to delegate duties. But yourself, did you have to delegate any duties on the day of the event? Or is there anyone else you would like to shout out that helped make this past weekend possible?
Yeah, so I mean, big shout outs to Gary, the athletic director at Strong Rock, and also Emily, their head track and field coach, for just being such a great, giving us hospitality, opening up their venue, and they were awesome to even do it. So they were big time. Obviously, they had to get all their volunteers on the side of just, the all different angles, and it comes from opening the gate to whatever you can think of with trash cleanup. And then also, of course, like you said, you mentioned Clint and the GIAA team. And then also Amy with her background. They and then Barbara Connor, I got to give her a huge shout out. She has been around a long time. I mean, obviously, I saw a lot of familiar faces. It was awesome to be back in action. But man, her team down at Bullock Academy, they were extremely involved, and I'm just so thankful. And I want to give a shout out to all of the coaches who were involved to make this possible, and just even our First Call Timing, who was our timing company. They were so so impressed by the hospitality, but also just how nice all the coaches were, and they enjoyed their 3 days as well.
Hundreds of athletes that were there under your tutelage, and everyone's got to work together to make sure that we give the athletes the best experience possible, the exposure they deserve, and make sure they feel safe. And I heard all those boxes were checked this past weekend. I am going to talk about some of those winners, including records were broken.
Yeah.
Quez Collins from 2A boys 100-meter run did it in 10.81 seconds from Brentwood. Again, Quez Collins from Brentwood broke the 100-meter run with 10.81 seconds. Congratulations to him. Also, Christian Hubbard from Athens Christian, he broke the 300-meter hurdles, Coach Weaver, and 3A boys with 39.09 seconds. Congratulations to Christian Hubbard of Athens Christian. Heritage Prep's James Strange, he broke the 2A boys 800-meter run in 1 minute and 57 seconds. So great job by James Strange and Heritage Prep, and the 2A boys 800-meter run, breaking that record. Another record, Southland's Isabel Kelly, 2A girls 800-meter dash, 2 minutes and 21 seconds. And great job by her. And then the record that was broken, 5 different records. St. Mary's Academy, Anthony Mosey, AA boys 200-meter dash, 21.57 seconds. That's pretty fast, JP. Talk about these athletes that broke records and the phenomenal showing, because many people don't understand the amount of athletes and great runners and just overall field events. We just have such top-level talent in the GIAA.
We do, and I was just really impressed. And, even like you got your schools coming from Athens Christian and Tallulah Falls, who entered the GIAA this past cycle.
Yep.
Just overall to see these athletes, again, give 3 days of competition coming out of a long season that does put a lot of wear and tear on your body, and to perform at a high level, including multiple days. Just really impressed with each and every individual, not even the ones that just set records. We also had, our girl from George Walton Academy who went 12.6, 12.9. And she was nearly, under I think half of a foot under the record of her attempt. And we had kids, in the AAA shot put who had to hit certain marks that haven't been hit in a long time just to get to the finals. It's just all the things that you have to put in just to get to that point, from, your preparation to changing up your schedule for how you eat, to get on the start line, to, timing down the starter gun, everything that comes into play. And so just really enjoyed watching these athletes from both the AA and the AAA, and, nearly, I think, 50 scoring teams on, both those sides as well. So
that's awesome, Coach. And by the way, let's do the team state champions. In 2A girls, Edmund Burke. Congratulations to them. And 2A boys, Brentwood School. And 3A girls, Stratford Academy. And 3A boys, Athens Christian. I know they were all the ones that won the team state championships. But if you will, kind of put a bow on this past weekend, seeing the phenomenal athletes, promote the GIAA like I always do, man, because people sleep on how great this league is and how much fun you had at Locust Grove at Strong Rock hosting these track and field state championships.
Man, I just encourage, next time this happens, back, I think, April 30th through May 2nd next year, if you're out and about, come out and support it, man. Come see it. It was a great 3-day event. Looking in at the sectionals, and again, I just bring this up because it's so comparable, but looking at the DHSA side, very comparable. I mean, there's some of the stats, you're seeing is high quality, and just enjoyed the experience overall. It was so good to be back involved in the Oval and just being involved with all these coaches and seeing these familiar faces and faces that have been around a long time. And just, how exciting is, of course, you're going to run into an issue where somebody has to, they might question something, but just the coaches. I'm so thankful for all these coaches who step in there, who jump in, especially on Friday for the field events, and who don't complain whatsoever. And it was hot Friday. It was the hottest day. But just to jump in there and support these athletes and get this track and field experience, I think it's one of the best things that, you can be a part of. And until you do it, you're like, wow, this is impressive. And just to see all the people, the spectators that were there from Thursday to Saturday was impressive as well.
Thank you again to JP Weaver, who has been on now to promote all things track and field. Thank you to Kent Copeland and Clint Morgan and everybody involved for the track and field state championships. Congratulations to all those team state champions. Again, I will end this interview with in 3A boys, Athens Christian, 3A girls, Stratford girls, 2A boys, Brentwood School, and 2A girls, Edmund Burke. JP, thank you so much, man. We hope to see you in the near future, and great job promoting these athletes, and great job this past weekend.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
His name is JP Weaver. He's the track and field director for the meets that happen, including the state championship. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we got more to wrap it up on what's happening around the GIAA here in the next couple of weeks on Inside the GIAA. We'll be right back after this. Don't go anywhere.
GIAA.tv now brings you more live coverage of more sports than ever before. Announcing GIAA.tv Lite with live coverage of swim, wrestling, cheer, and more. GIAA.tv Lite is the next best thing to being there. From one screen, you will hear the crowd, see the action, the scores, the stats, and more. With no play-by-play or instant replays, GIAA.tv Lite is half the price of our regular broadcast. Announcing GIAA.tv Plus. With all of your fan favorites, GIAA.tv Plus now adds volleyball, softball, all-star football, and more. Featuring all the play-by-play, instant replays, multiple angles, and more, all for less than the cost of 2 adult tickets to the event. Don't miss 1 second of the action all year long, only on GIAA.tv.
Founded in 1985, the Georgia Independent School Association proudly represents nearly 170 accredited private, independent, and parochial schools across the state. From Tallulah Falls to St. Simon's Island, from Columbus to Augusta, our schools serve over 76,000 students every year. Whether parents are interested in smaller class sizes, more individual attention, a religious-based curriculum, or a safe and structured environment, the GISA provides a strong education, which is the foundation for success. To learn more about the GISA and how they can serve your school, visit us online at www.gisaschools.org.
Welcome back here to Inside the GIAA, and man, what a show, Richard. Again, thank you to our absolutely fantastic guests, from Coach Ian, our soccer analyst. We're going to have him on throughout the playoffs, to Coach Moore, and him being the head coach of FPD, was a longtime football coach. He's been the AD there for a while, done a great job getting the baseball program up to standard. Thank you to JP Weaver, who's the GIAA track and field meet director. Maybe we'll talk about those state championships. So just an incredible day, incredible night and show here on Inside the GIAA. Again, coming up, we got the lacrosse championships, and we also got the baseball and soccer state championships, 27th, 28th soccer at Stratford, 29th through 31st baseball at Synovus Park. And we are presented by the Beck Center. We can't wait to be back next week, see how those baseball playoffs and soccer playoffs are coming out. They all start this weekend. Good luck to all the teams. Any other final thoughts, Rich, before we get out of here?
No, just good luck to George Walton and Strong Rock, as the lacrosse championships is going to be taking place on May the 8th. It's actually going to be taking place tomorrow. Yeah. So we're excited about that. That's going to be at Strong Rock, and that's just another championship here for the GIAA.
And can't wait to get those, get that insight. But if you want to get it before next Wednesday, go to the Instagram page. You'll see all the information. Thank y'all so much for watching. We'll see you next time on Inside the GIAA, presented by the Beck Center.
This copyrighted broadcast, presented exclusively on GIAA.tv, is copyrighted by the Georgia Independent Athletic Association, a division of the Georgia Independent School Association, for the private use of our audience. It may not be retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without the express written consent of the Georgia Independent School Association.